There's no sound.
We are back. We're having some technical
Yeah, I also couldn't hear.
I'm just gonna make it free. If not,
Let me double check here.
I think maybe they can hear you now. I just pressed a button, so hopefully it's working now. I'm just gonna continue.
I think we're good.
there it is. Okay, we're back. This is gonna turn out to be a great podcast. All right, it's gonna turn out to be a great podcast. Let's so all right. To recap, Christy has Louisville. I have Stanford. Calvin has Stanford. Okay, so I have Stanford. Calvin has Stanford. Christy has Louisville.
No. I have Stanford. I said that Louisville would give them the best run.
Okay.
I didn't say they would take them out.
So we all have Stanford.
Yeah.
We all have Stanford, which scares me. I'm gonna tell you that. That's scary to me. I don't like when we have all agreement. Although I think Stanford's been good enough that it's fine that we all agree that Stanford will be coming out of the Alamo region to the Final Four. Calvin has a mini Cinderella, a little Cinderella. Oregon making it to the Sweet 16. I have South Dakota beating Oregon in the first round. Everything else pretty much going as planned. Although I have Georgia in the Elite Eight as well. But we'll see. We'll see how we get there. Let's move over to. I don't have a good background here, so I'm just gonna speak from my house. The hemisphere. Not the hemisphere. The hemisphere region. In this region, we have South Carolina as our 1 seed, Maryland as our 2 seed. As you can see from the jersey behind Christy, we may have some disagreement as to whether Maryland is a 2 seed or not. Then we also have a lot of great teams here. We got UCLA, Texas, West Virginia, Stephen F. Austin. So it's like really interesting region here. I think this is a region where people have some upsets. So, Christy, do you see a big upset here? Because I actually have 2 first-round upsets in this region.
Wow. I'm just looking at it, just double checking. I don't know if there's going to be any upsets in that first round in this side of the region. I just think that when you have teams like South Carolina in there, you have another team like Maryland that easily could have been a 1 seed, and I thought they had it when I saw that Texas A&M didn't get it. I was like, well, who did they move Texas A&M out for? And that was early on in the selection, but I digress. But anyway, I think they've done enough to be a 1 seed. So when you have 2 teams that are one of the 10 teams that have been discussed for winning the entire tournament in the same region, I mean, I think that just speaks volumes. But now I can talk about the 8-9 matchup. I don't know if that's considered an upset when a 9 beats an 8, but that's the one I have circled. I mean, Sue Semrau at Florida State, she's just a tremendous basketball savant. I've been around her and her team and her philosophy on winning. I think that's going to be a game that needs to be circled. And if a 9-8 is an upset, then that's the only one that I see in the first round.
Yeah, and they have an interesting story because Sue, as you know, Sue has been out this year because her mom has been sick, and then Brooke Wyckoff coming in, having that same sort of philosophy, that's when you know you have a culture, is that this team was still strong enough to make the tournament, and it is, Christy's right, get to the second round.
Exactly.
I do have Oregon State there just because I like they're hot. They're hot, right? I love a hot team.
Right.
But Calvin, do you have an upset here? Before I say my 2 upsets that are not 8-9, do you have an upset here?
I do. I think I'm going to steal one of yours, Gabe. But I have Stephen F. Austin over Georgia Tech. I do love Georgia Tech. There's no disrespect. Porter actually, he's a great defensive coach. He started for coaching at Stephen F. Austin, the college coach. As a grad assistant under Gary Blair. So, interesting background in this one. I love Georgia Tech in the way that they surround the relative high with shooters. They also just have a lot of fun names to say. Lodomai Botman, Laura McQueen. It's like the all-name
you're stealing. I was about to say you're stealing Gabe's beat.
All of those can shoot. That being said, Stephen F. Austin is absolutely the real deal. They love to, they'll get up after you, press you after mates. They'll drop back into different defenses to go man sometimes. You know, the matchup 2-3 zone. I love watching Stephanie Fisher at the top of that press and at the top of that zone. A 6-foot guard who just completely gets after you. Still, I don't know how she does this. She averages 1.2 blocks a game as a guard playing on the perimeter of that defense. Makes no sense to me. It's amazing. And on the offensive end, she's an excellent facilitator. She leads the team in assists, and she's one of the most efficient scorers in the country. 43% from three, 74% at the rim as a guard. And then they bring off the bench my favorite player, maybe in the whole country, Avery Birmingham. He just plays with a bunch of energy, a bunch of joy. Fantastic rebounder, 6 foot off the bench. She's just always having fun. So Stephen F. Austin is my pick to pull 12-5 over the team.
So I also have this, but I'm getting worried because a lot of people have it. This is one of those. It's like everyone has this 5-12, and it's like because I think conceptually we all want to pick a 5-12. The 5-12 is one of the best upsets that happens every year. 4-13, it's a hit or miss if that ever happens. 2 and 3 have never lost in the first round. By the way, I think I'm correct. Right?
That is correct.
We've had one. Who was the only one seed that really was the first round?
Yes.
Allison Feaster, leading scorer in the country.
Allison Feaster, my girl. Yeah.
That was 1998. 2 days ago, I think. I don't know. But yes, that's the only one seed that's ever lost. But 2 and 3s don't happen. We get the 4-13s are great, but a 5-12 just juicy. It's waiting for you. And this one, there's a lot of people picking Stephen F. Austin for a lot of the reasons you're saying. But Georgia Tech's a really good team, man. Like they played really well in the ACC. They got to the tournament. They played against some really good competition in the ACC, which includes Louisville and NC State. I don't know. I mean, I just think it might be one of those things where we're piling on, and this team is going to start hearing it, and then they're going to respond. So I'm a little worried that our Stephen F. Austin picks are going to go to shreds. But now, Christy, we get to talk about the thing that we want to talk about.
Okay.
Maryland.
Okay.
They are a 2 seed, and that's really good. To me, this team has been the best team in the country for they only lost. They haven't lost in what? 2 months? When was the last time Maryland lost? I don't even know.
They lost early, and they lost to Ohio State in January, but I'm not sure of the specific date. But they have not lost since then.
This team has been wrecking people. It's not just that they're winning; they are wrecking people throughout the Big Ten, which is one of the best conferences in the country. They haven't won a game by less than double digits since losing to Ohio State on the 25th. I just looked it up. 25th of January. Ashley Owusu is one of the best players in the country, and she only made 3rd team All-American, which I think is wrong because I don't think there's 10 better players than her in the country. As much as I enjoy Paige Beckers and Caitlin Clark, I don't think they're better than Ashley Owusu because she sets up her teammates so well. This team shoots so well from the field because of what Owusu brings. And Diamond Miller. I want to shortchange her. Diamond Miller, those two getting into the lane, those two finding their outlets, Katie Benson, Chloe Bibby, and Collins. Like this is a team that is just perfectly set up to win. Angel Reese is coming back. She's looking stronger every game. I got Maryland coming out of this region over South Carolina, which I know is going to make a lot of South Carolina fans mad. If this is important enough.
Okay.
They have that chip on their shoulder. They have the best coaches, the best players are going to put whatever chip they can put on their shoulder. They're a 2 seed. Ashley Owusu is 3rd team All-American. They're going to put that on their shoulder, and I think it's going to push them to have a little bit more and get out of this region. Do you agree with me?
I agree with that. I just understand what Brenda Freese has asked of her players and what they have executed, and that has matched, that has meshed, and that's why she was Coach of the Year by ESPN. And you look at look at the 4 seniors, you look at the handful of transfers, and no one giving Maryland a chance, and then Maryland turning right back around and winning the Big Ten tournament championship. And 7 teams are in for the tournament out of the Big Ten. 5 of them ranked in the top 25 all season long, and 6 in and out, you know. But when you have a conference where you have to do battle night in and night out, they did lose to Ohio State, and that was a 2-point game. So, that's not an excuse. It was a loss. I get it. But at the same time, this is a Maryland team that has tremendous balance in terms of their scoring. Ashley Owusu in the tournament, she was out and only played 7 minutes in the first half of the semifinal game. But they did not miss a beat. And they still had 6 players in the double figures. Angel Reese, as you said, Gabe, I mean, she came in and had a double-double. And this is a freshman, second highest ranked player coming in as a recruit behind Paige Beckers at UConn, but she missed 2.5, 3 months with a fractured foot. So it's already an adjustment, right? As a freshman, to come in and try to find your place within the chemistry of a team that's already developed that. But then to come back right before the postseason, I mean, that's even a bigger challenge. That is just a tremendous sight to see how confident she is with the process of putting herself back into it. But I think with the way Brenda Frese has established the mentality of this team, I think it's going to be a great battle. And in the last 2 years, Maryland and South Carolina split. You know, they played in the non-conference portion of the season, 2019, and then the year before in 2018 in the fall, Maryland beat South Carolina, and then South Carolina came to College Park and beat them last year. And so when you have that too as a chip, both teams. I mean, Dawn Staley can also use that. We split the last 2 times. Third time's a charm. Let's go ahead out here and get this done. And I love Dawn Staley, so don't get me wrong on that. And they have changed what they have done philosophy-wise in terms of getting the ball inside to Boston. Over the last stretch of games, they went away from that, and that's why they dropped a couple down the stretch in regular season play, but they ended up winning the tournament because they went to and through Aaliyah Boston on the interior. So that's going to be the challenge. I mean, Maryland has had that kind of a challenge in terms of big post presence inside with Naz Hillman, a 50-point scorer at Michigan, who is just a beast on the boards and a beast in the paint in terms of getting those paint touches, but they somehow found a way to bottle her up. So I'm looking at that kind of defensive attention to detail on the interior by Maryland and what they were able to do with a player like Naz Hillman. I think they're going to be able to take away the touches that Aaliyah Boston wants on the inside, and I think that's going to be an intriguing matchup. But I think Maryland squeaks one out over South Carolina.
Calvin, so we both have Maryland. I want to know who you're picking. But I also kind of want to know, do you think, I mean, obviously every road here is tough. Like, there's a lot of good teams. But when you look at the top 4 here, it's South Carolina, West Virginia, UCLA, Maryland. I think this is maybe the strongest top 4 in the bracket. I want to know if you agree with that and who you got coming out of it.
Yeah, I think in terms of that question, either this one or the Riverwalk we're going to get to, I think UConn and Baylor, in terms of the top 2, can rival South Carolina and Maryland. But I am picking Maryland out of this bracket, not just because you have Christy and stuff. I think, you guys talk about Angel Reese a lot, and we talk about their offense and how balanced they are and how phenomenal they got, we should go get anything. I actually think Angel Reese makes a huge impact on the defensive end come back. And that's an area where this team gets a lot of hate for. I think everyone agrees with the best offense in the country. They can score with anyone, they can run up and down with anyone. But can they get stops is sort of a knock on them. And Angel Reese, she's been coming off the bench since she came back. 8 games, I believe, that she's been back. She's been playing 15 to 20 minutes a game. So it's not like she's, in there having necessarily this huge impact for 30, 35 minutes a game. But I don't think she needs to be, and I don't think Maryland needs to be necessarily an elite defensive team. I think they need to be capable. And Angel Reese, the way that she can rebound in the defensive end, the way she can catch shots around the rim when she comes into the game, really makes them capable enough to get stops. That with the way they score the ball, I don't see anyone, especially with Lily Brissett out for the tournament, for South Carolina. I don't see anyone in this region knocking off Maryland. I'm also, I love a good defense, and lane, you know, where if the game's like 41-39, and I'm grabbing my popcorn because I love watching that kind of game. But in terms of winning, I lean more offense wins championships, actually. Everyone loves to say defense wins championships, but I lean more towards offense in terms of winning. So I think Maryland has that elite offense, and Angel East makes their defense enough to when you pair it with the way that they can score from, you know, every spot on the floor from all 5 positions. I think they're too tough to beat.
To quote the great Pat Summitt, rebounding actually wins championships, sir.
There you go.
I don't know if that's true, but Maryland's still like their defensive rating 41st. So they're not like slouching on that end. Among these teams at the top, obviously, they're more offensively heavy, but man, I just think they're so together. So we're all on board on Maryland. We're all on board on Stanford in the Final Four. This is again terrifying.
Are we good? Everybody all right?
No one tell Dawn Staley that this live stream / podcast exists.
Yeah.
South Carolina's very vicious.
I know.
Well, they'll find this. As long as they don't tell Dawn Staley, I think our picks are going to be okay. But no one tell her that this exists, because you talk about someone putting a chip on their shoulder. She's that type of coach, and that's why they're so. I do have them in the Elite Eight, and man, that game is going to be. That's the game that, like, of all my picks, that is the game I want to have in South Carolina and Maryland. So let's hope that comes out of the hemisphere. It's an actual fair. Hemisphere. It's an actual fair, I think. I don't know. I haven't been to San Antonio. But now, we're heading to a place that we've all seen. Wait, I have a virtual background for this. Riverwalk!
Hey!
Look at this lovely river.
Much easier to say.
Riverwalk. To quote Charles Barkley, that ain't no river, it's a creek. But regardless, we are here in the Riverwalk region. Here we got UConn as the top seed, Baylor as the 2 seed, littered with fantastic teams here in Tennessee, Kentucky, Iowa, Syracuse, South Coast State, High Point. I do want to mention High Point because before the brackets came out, and I didn't know that they were going to be a 16 seed. I was like, this is a team that can pull off an upset. I don't know if they can pull off an upset on UConn. I'm not picking that. But I do love High Point. Congrats to them on making their first NCAA tournament. My future father-in-law teaches me. So.
Oh, nice.
It's also a beautiful campus out there.
It is.
But we're going to talk about an upset that I have, and I think a lot of people have. I got FGCU over Michigan. Not only do I have them over Michigan, I have them over Tennessee. I have them in the Sweet 16 as an 11 seed. And the reason why is fairly clear. They're Kirsten Bell. Like, that might be one of the best players in this tournament. She just happens to play for Florida Gulf Coast in the Atlantic Sun region. I think she can take over a game. Then you add in Tashara Morehouse, who, you know, just one of those players, right? Like, she has the makings of a tournament legend. She's a mighty mouse. She has all the little tricks. She knows how to play big despite her size. I just love what she can bring as a point guard on this team. So that's why I got FGCU. Calvin, you also have FGCU, at least in the first round, right?
I do. I don't have them in the Sweet 16. I'm not getting quite that bold, but I was actually listening to that podcast with
Cat comes into the picture.
That's Dewey. Sorry, go ahead.
Welcome to the show, Dewey. I was listening to that podcast, Gabe, that you did with Amy, where you get High Points involved. I appreciate that. But also where I love the analogy you used for TK Morehouse, the little point guard, the stat pass in football, right?
Yeah.
I think is what you call it, which is an excellent analogy. But Kirsten Bell, I don't know if people know this, but actually 24-0 with her in the lineup. She didn't play those beginning of the year when they lost. In that, the Gulf Coast.
It was the beach bubble. They lost to Missouri State.
Missouri
Just won't
State,
plug in.
It was Arkansas.
Missouri State. Those are 4 and 5 seeds. Those are the only 2 teams they lost to all season long, and they almost
And
beat
they didn't have
Arkansas.
Kirsten Bell in those games. She was waiting for her NCAA waiver to be approved, which it did get approved in the 24 hours after the Arkansas game. She came back. They haven't lost since. And by the way, her waiver was because she transferred from Ohio State. So she has a lot of hatred for Michigan. This is a good matchup for her to, you talk about someone playing with a chip. I also just love, as an analytics guy, I don't either of you know this question, okay?
Gabe
go
has
with, I don't know if it's a lot or a little based on the tone of the question. I'm going to go 4.
You're very close. The answer is 7. It's basically the
Wow.
same number that Caitlin Clark takes every game by herself. They've taken 7 mid-range jumpers all year. It's the quintessential analytics, Maury ball team for anyone who follows the NBA. They take half their shots from 3, half their shots from the rim, and they don't shoot anywhere in between. They love to get out and run. I don't know how they don't turn it over the way that they run, but they don't turn it over. And on defense as well, they can really lock you down. They're great on the defensive glass, but they also force a lot of turnovers. Put those two together, that's a lot of live ball stops. Steals and defensive rebounds. Live ball stops. They have as many live ball stops as anyone in the tournament except for Deshaun Taylor. And I believe Troy actually per game. Which when you have a transition game as dangerous as theirs is, live ball stops are huge. So I think they're dangerous on both ends of the floor. Like I said, TJ Morehouse can really just that type of player. He's a feel good, player to watch and march. Little whatever you call her, Mighty Mouse. Kristen Bell got the chip on her shoulder, and she's front runner probably for our Becky Hammond maybe player of the year. So I'm on the bandwagon too, although not quite to the extent that you are, not putting him in the future team. But I wouldn't be shocked if he did.
Yeah, I mean, I just think, I like Tennessee, but I don't know. I have you gotta get a feeling, right? And I love FGCU, and I want to see some madness. All right, let's toss it to our Big Ten analyst with her literal Big Ten. Despite her playing her entire career in the ACC, where Maryland belongs, we're gonna toss it to our Big Ten analyst, Christy Winters Scott, to tell us. I'm assuming you have Michigan winning, which is a fair viewpoint considering they're the 6th seed with one of the best scores in the country.
It's super tough because I tell you what, I love me some Carl Semesco. First of all, I coached with him. We were on the same staff at Maryland as assistant coaches back in the day. Shared like a view of the hallway, and his office was right across the hall. So I have a ton of respect and reverence for what he's been able to do at Florida Gulf Coast, and that's where he went from Maryland and went and took the head coaching job there. But he has done such a tremendous job with that program, top to bottom. Just he has had coaches on his staff who have gone on to be head coaches other places, so he's planting the proper seeds in the game. But it's everything to the right of but. That's what I learned a long time ago. But with Michigan, and I understand that you were talking about the confidence and the chemistry of the team, Gabe, and how important that is to be playing your best basketball right now. They're really not playing their best basketball right now. I think when they had that 2-week pause that was not any fault of their own, right? It was when Michigan went down for 2 weeks. The entire athletic department went down for 2 weeks. I think after that, they have really taken some time to get back to what they were doing earlier in the season. I mean, they were in top 12 in the country and playing great basketball, had won, I think, 9 or 10 games in a row and really had strong momentum. And then they had those hiccups of pause here, a pause there, not being able to play when Rutgers was out. And it was just like this up and down push-pull of the season. And then I think also, the top 16 reveal, when they weren't in that first one, they were fired up about that and felt that they should have been in there. And I think they should have been in there. And that's not me, wearing Big Ten thing or anything. I think just overall looking at the net ratings and everything, I thought that they deserved that. And I think the second one, they had hit like that pitfall of having a 2-week pause and then coming back and kind of being disjointed and kind of lost the chemistry and the flow that they had. So Naz Hillman's going to be a problem, but she needs help. And I will say that out loud. I mean, Amy Dilk needs to play better for Michigan, and she has just not been able to turn the corner. And I think that's the player we're kind of all waiting on to make a difference for the Wolverines. So I love what Michigan is capable of doing, but my question will remain, can they get back on track? Can Naz Hillman have help and not have to have the 50 points? And let's not forget, I mean, she had those 50 points against Ohio State, but Ohio State beat Michigan in that game. I mean, she was 20 for 30 from the floor. She had 16 boards, but she needs someone else to step up with her. And I love Nas Hillman. I mean, she's Player of the Year in the conference for a reason. I voted for her for Player of the Year because I just thought that, her body of work from her freshman year to now, I mean, she has really drawn all eyes and all kinds of defensive schemes against her, but she's still able to score 25, 26 a game and lead the conference in scoring with 12 boards a game. So she's a problem, but she needs help, and I know I'm wavering here, and I know you need an answer. But Gabe, you know me well. It takes me a minute. I mean, Florida Gulf Coast does have the momentum right now, but they're not playing against teams in the Big Ten. And I'm going to go with Michigan on this because I think they have, like you said, a chip now on their shoulder. They didn't do as well as they wanted to in the tournament, and they didn't have the momentum and the trending upward that they wanted at the end of the season. But now we've changed the page, and I think it's a clean start for Michigan. Although I love Carlson Mesco, and Kirsten Bell down there has just been a terror for teams in that conference. But the Big Ten conference is tough, and it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close, and Michigan has to take care of the ball, and Michigan has to have help from Amy Doak and others. And the Browns, Leah Brown's got to come on. Haley Brown's got to come on. They need 4 or 5 players in double figures, and they have to have less than 10 turnovers, period, in order to win. So if those stats don't match up, then I'm going with Florida.
So if things don't come your way, you're gonna pick. No, I think what's compelling is there is, as much as I enjoy momentum, I like talking about that.
Yeah.
I like thinking that the conference tournament matters, and it does. But there are some teams that you can hit the reset button and you say, hey, guess what? Whatever happened does not matter anymore. Whatever's happened the last 2 weeks, the last month, whatever, it does not matter anymore. We're in a new season because that's where you start. This season, everyone's 0-0. You can have a number beside your name and that can mean something, or it cannot, right? Like I think that is compelling that you can some teams can just hit a reset button and say, we're going to get going now. As far as the rest of the bracket, and also just want to point out, FGCU is another one of those teams that is scary to me because now a lot of people are on the FGCU train. But whatever. I'm gonna stick by. Maybe I should pick High Point. I don't know. I'm not gonna pick High Point. Even though Gino is at home with COVID. They shoot the most threes in the country. I mean, that's
25 and 3-point percentage.
Oh, wow.
This is a little bit like UMBC, right? That has a little bit of that twinge to it. Not quite Harvard, because Harvard. The thing about the Harvard-Stanford game was like Harvard had no business being a 16 seed. Someone just put them there because they didn't really watch them that year. And it's like if you actually paid attention to Harvard in that 98 season, like they were way better than 16 seed.
Well,
I digress.
It would be like this game if you took out Olivia Nelson of the state.
Yeah. I think that'd be a bigger problem. Gino is not there. Gino has COVID. He's at home, asymptomatic. He's feeling healthy. He's actually vaccinated. So a reminder that even if you have the vaccine, you gotta wait those whatever. I think it's like 15 days for bus immunity, 29 days for full immunity. So be careful. We're still in this time. But I still think UConn's going to win their matchup. Calvin, is there anywhere else you are interested in? Because the game I'm circling here in the second round, actually, the whole UConn bracket's pretty interesting to me. South Dakota State's good. Syracuse is good. Whoever they play in the second round is also going to be a tough matchup. I also think that Iowa, if these two teams make it, first off, because Iowa has to beat Central Michigan, which is not a cakewalk. If Iowa advances, Kentucky advances, we have a game between two of the best players in the country, between Caitlin Clark and Brian Howard. And then whoever comes out of there and plays UConn in the elite in the Sweet 16 is going to be a tremendous matchup. So in that bracket with UConn, all these teams I just mentioned, which matchup are you interested in, and who do you see getting to the Elite Eight there from that top half of the Riverwalk bracket?
I'm going with UConn. I know it's boring, but I mean they've been, in my opinion, the best team all year. I do love that, I don't think the committee does these things on purpose, but to sort of set up these made-for-TV matchups with Caitlin we shouldn't just assume that we're going to get that game. But if we do, the winner of that game versus Paige Becker, especially if it's Caitlin Clark and we get to settle the best freshman debate between the lines. I think everyone wants to see that. I think UConn just has too much. And, we love to talk about Paige Beckers all the time, rightfully so. I'm not here to bring the Paige Beckers hate. But we don't talk enough about some of these supporting pieces that they have within. Kristen Williams, Avina Westbrook, we already mentioned Olivia Nelson-Agoda. Aubrey Griffin is a phenomenal athlete. I think they really, it's just maybe the most complete team in all of basketball. They have all the pieces. And then, of course, there's also Paige Beckers, who's just shooting 1,000% from three as the primary ball handler, which makes
That's
no
not
sense.
often.
She's putting up spot-up shooter numbers as the primary ball handler. Almost Katie Benson, three-point shooting numbers as the primary ball handler, which is mind-blowing. So I don't think anyone in the top half of the league is good in that.
I got Kentucky because I want madness. I just want it. I want, this was the bracket where I was like, you know what, it's March. Like, crazy stuff's going to happen. Maybe Ryan Howard just says, I'm going to win this thing on my own. But overall, I had UConn there for a while. I was just like, I want to be, maybe it's just me trying to be different with FGCU in the Sweet 16 and UConn Kentucky in the Elite Eight. And flipping over to the bottom half, like Tennessee, Baylor, those teams are excellent. They could get hot and win this region as well. I think you mentioned it when we were talking in the hemisphere region. Like, this is also, in terms of top four teams, just one of the strongest places on the bracket. I think whoever comes out here is going to be a really strong team. I have Baylor going to the Final Four here. Christy, who do you have coming out of the Riverwalk region?
Oh man, the Riverwalk region. I mean, we didn't get that Baylor UConn game earlier this year. That is a shame because that would be easier to answer this question had we had that game happen. But Baylor went on that pause during that time. I don't know. That's just a tough one. I think with UConn not having any seniors, I think could be the difference maker in that game. So I'm going to give the edge to Baylor just because I feel that, as much as confidence and trending upward gives you that extra lift that you need in postseason play, so does experience. And I think with Baylor players, even though no one played last year, and I get it before you all start saying nobody played last year, no. But there are players on that Baylor team who played in a national championship game. There are players who won. There are players who went through the process of a tournament. And with 7 freshmen on this UConn team, they don't understand necessarily what that process is like. Not to say they can't succeed anyway, because we saw Maryland win in 06 for freshmen and sophomore. So, I'm not making an excuse or ripping or throwing shade. So before anybody starts thinking, so I have to block, there's that for clarification. But with that being said, I think the edge goes to Baylor because of their experience factor. And I believe that with the freshmen that UConn has, they're going to give them a test. And they can use that as a chip if they want to, and that's fine. But Baylor, I think, will come out on top in that matchup between those two.
All right, Calvin, who you got? So we both, we're agreeing too much. We're agreeing too much. So you had, I don't know if you made it clear, but I think you have UConn coming out of this region.
Oh God. Christy's swaying me. I don't know. This is the toughest one for me to pick. I love UConn for all the reasons I mentioned, but I'm not sure if there's a better front court duo in the country than Melissa Smith and Queen Egbo. Melissa Smith's so athletic.
First team all
I don't know if you guys saw the other day. She just basically had an alley-oop and did a dunk on the thing, and it was
small.
So it's just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just cool to watch the things that she does on both ends of the floor, the way she runs the floor. I also think Baylor is really a consistent team. I think they are who they are. They don't take a lot of threes, which is a good thing when you're a high level favorite, because you're not as prone to those off nights, those cold. Because if you're going to win a national championship, you got to win 6 games in a row. That's really hard to do. And if you're going to win 6 games in a row. You can't have an off night. You can't be caught, on a cold shooting night. Baylor doesn't really ever have that. They don't take threes. They're capable of shooting, but they don't take threes. They love to run those box sets, with Rudy at the point and two high posts, two low posts, just four people pounded in, and it's beautiful old school basketball. And then there's Christy Winters too. He's growing on me a lot this year on offense as the point guard, and also on defense. She's a lockdown defender. I really hope we get to see her face, UConn to see her match up with pace vectors on that end of the floor. I think she's a lockdown defender with length, which is key. Pace vectors is obviously a big threat itself. So I don't know. We've agreed on everything so far. Take UConn, but I think they call it 1 seed too. I think it's Maryland already, but I think I have to go with Maryland.
Great. So we're all in agreement so far. Final four.
Agree on the last one, though. I promise you that. At least I know you and I don't agree. I have no idea where Christy's going.
I got Stanford. So we got Stanford, Maryland, and Baylor. All three of us on a public platform picking three of the same Final Four. This is gonna go great. For sure. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Hopefully our sound is still off, so no one heard it.
I know.
Don't worry. This is
if they find these.
Well, they have to listen to a podcast. So I don't know. Gino's at home, so he might be listening. Oh, I know Christy. I know you talk to Dawn Staley sometimes. Don't tell her that's fine.
I know.
I don't want her hearing about
I
this.
tap her shoulder from time to time, but I will not be tapping her shoulder.
All right, let's move down the last region that we will be talking about. The last region in the tournament before we get to the Final Four. I'm gonna move over to the Mercado. Mercado. That means market. This is a marketplace.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about this because this is. This kind of bracket like I'm not the most sure on. The other ones I have very strong feelings, as I've said. Here, in the first round, I kind of wanted to go let's start. I love Alicia Clark. We've talked about this here in the space, in many spaces. Alicia Clark's one of the favorite players in the league. Now she's for Washington Mystics, which is great because now I get to watch her every single night. And so, in that vein, I picked Belmont over Gonzaga because that was the school that Alicia Clark went to before transferring to Middle Tennessee State. I couldn't quite get to Middle Tennessee State over Tennessee, even though I did think it would be a really good game. I picked Belmont over Gonzaga. That's my big upset in the first round. Everything else is kind of chalk out. Washington State 9/8. But this region to me, and I'll go Calvin first. It just feels a little weird. Our top four seeds are NC State, Texas A&M, who are two of the best teams in the country with probably some of the best wins in the country. Then you got Arizona at 3, Iowa at 4. You got Rutgers thrown in here. You got a Gonzaga team that's hot that I'm picking against in the first round. So it's like I just feel weird here. So Calvin, do you also feel weird, and do you have any big first round upsets?
Yeah, honestly, I had the same thing written down here that I think this region is going to be the chaos region. There's always one region where it's basically all chalk, and there's another region where everything just red X's all over the place. And that's this region to me. I don't think we're going to get a 1 or a 2 seed in the Final Four in this region, which has been 5 years since that happened. So someone below the 2 seed made the Final Four. I think Arizona has a good shot. I think Rutgers has a good shot. They have to meet up in the second round if they both get there. But I think the winner of that game is a really good sleeper pick to make the Final Four. I have an upset pick in the second round. I think this one as well. I have Iowa State over Texas A&M. Iowa State is one of the best 3-point shooting teams. By the way, they have a chance to be the best 3-point shooting team ever in the history of college basketball. They're 83.1% right now. The record is 82.2. Idaho is 2008. So they got a chance to break that record, which when you get into these close games in March, now unfortunately they need free throws. They run a lot of 5 out, but they're really versatile. Ashley Jones, she played back to basket with a smaller guard on her, but she can bring the ball up the floor and shoot 3. I think Texas A&M hasn't really guarded the arc very well this year, and I think they've kind of gotten away with it. I don't think they're going to get away with it 4, 5, 6 games in this tournament. I think someone's going to get hot against them and lock them up. If not
also have Rutgers. I have Rutgers over Arizona, mainly because I don't want. I mean, I respect Arizona, great team. Harry McDonald's a great player. I ain't picking against Steve Sugar when her team's doing well and they're feeling good. Do you have Rutgers over Arizona as well?
I don't. I actually do have Arizona, which, I hate this matchup because I think both of these teams have a lot of potential to go really deep. Rutgers is playing as well as anyone. I think that since they came off that month-long pause, they're really, I think, the top 10 team in the country. They're seeded more like a top 25 team. Aurora Durantes came back to school for this. She didn't come back to school for, the Rutgers cafeteria food or mess around or anything like that. She came back to school to play in March, and so she is going to be ready to go. And I think what is she at? 25-5, 2 years block. Obviously, everyone on that team has the pressure that they put on you. The one thing that makes me question my Arizona pick, though, is, when I look at these March games, the second, fourth, and sixth games, right, are the short turnaround games. You only have 36 or 48 hours to scout. Rutgers is a really hard scout on short notice with the way they play defense and the way that they come after you and pressure you, sometimes for 94 feet. So I do think it'll be really, really tough. More so in the second game, against Arizona than in the first game where they had all week to prepare for that. However, I love what the Avon performance. They won 6 games, I think, 4 years ago. It's a remarkable turnaround. Harry McDonald is another little scat back, fun player to watch. And Sam Thomas.
She's a little bit more than a scat back, though. She got a
more
lot.
impactful, that's fair. But in terms of watching her run circles around everyone and no one can get in front of her because that's what she gives me those sort of vibes. I mean, it's just me. I love those type of players in March, because they're not. It doesn't make sense that they're good, when they're 4'2" or whatever, and then they just come out and start balling everyone up. So I'm on the Harry McDonald bandwagon. I'm also on the Sam Thomas bandwagon. I think she's pretty tough. She plays a lot bigger than she is. She's 6 foot. She can really switch 1 through 5. She knocks down threes. My biggest question mark with Arizona is really what Christy was talking about with Michigan. Leah Brown is a capable scorer, but is now someone going to get help? This team can lock you down, no question. Is Erin McDonald going to get help on the offensive end? Sometimes she has to carry the load herself, scoring the basketball, facilitating. Is she going to get help in that regard? They can have 1 or 2 other players step up and give them maybe 15, knock down a few shots, which I think Sam Thomas is capable of. Shayna Pellington is capable of. They haven't shown it, consistently throughout the year, but if they can, I actually think this team can make the Final Four. This is going to be my pick for the Final Four, by the way, which is why I know we're not agreeing. Arizona in the Final Four.
Saucy.
I know you picked Rutgers.
Okay.
Saucy. So, I think that Rutgers Arizona game is going to have that rock fight potential that you're talking about. So this is a game for Cal. It's gonna be rock fight, and enjoy it, guys. This is March. You're supposed to enjoy the differences. But Christy, I thought the thing that Calvin brought up that was interesting was those short turnaround games, because obviously in the tournament, like you were saying, you have a week to prepare for game 1. You have 2 days. You have 2 days max, right? It's basically 1 day to prepare for game 2. And we talked about this on courtside last week. Like, that's difficult for a coach because there's an opportunity to both overthink it and underthink it. So as a coach and in your experience as a player in this tournament, what do you think you do? Like, do you just do you kind of treat that weekend like a conference tournament where it's like we're just going to have to be us and play, or do you try to change things up a little bit?
I think it's a little bit of both. And when you're talking about changing things up a little bit, I think that's just paying attention to the details, what you want to take away from the teams that you're going to play. But that's not changing what got you there, okay, to be clear on that. But I think with the way every single team in the tournament has had to play this year, I know in the Big Ten in particular, you're playing every other day. And it was almost like a pro schedule. So I think they're ready in that regard to get the quick turnaround. Technology is your best friend during this time. But I think with a team like Rutgers, like you said, Calvin, they're a team that has 4 players who average 2 or more steals a game. And we're talking about the balance on offense that Maryland has, or Stanford has, and Baylor. The balance on this defensive end for Rutgers is just the top of the list when it comes to the intensity that you're going to feel. I know in talking to coaches who are going to play Rutgers, excuse me, they have put 7 or 8 players on the floor against the starting 5 to simulate the just flurry of attention and hands and feet everywhere, and that's what they're going to see with just 5 players for Rutgers. So I think when you have more time to go against something like that, you have more composure when you're under pressure, and that's what Rutgers is going to bring you. But I truly want to see that matchup. That's the one I have circled, the Arizona-Rutgers matchup in that side of the bracket. I think it's going to be really intriguing to watch. Adia Barnes is a fantastic coach, but I think the game within the game in that contest is going to be Arilla Garantes making her way back, after flirting a little bit with the WNBA. And then McDonald saying that she's already going to go ahead and this is my last time in an Arizona uniform this season and this is it for me. So I want to see the battle of wills between those 2 young ladies. I definitely want to see the game, obviously, but there are layers to that, right? I think that, when you have the postseason play, I mean, every game could be your last game, but I think that's been on the table for every single team, like, every other night playing a game has been, right? This could be our last game. We can be put on a pause, and we won't be able to get to the tournament, and we've seen that now on the men's side with teams not being able to compete. So I think they already understand that level of mentality, and I think that is going to be kind of a contrast in styles for a lot of teams in this bracket, like you said, of the bracket of chaos on this side, of the region of chaos. But I want to see that game and what that looks like, rock fight or not. I want to see who comes out between those 2 teams, and it's going to be a battle of wills. And Rutgers is going to bring that defense, and can McDonald get that help that she needs? I mean, she's had the help when they've done well in stretches, but when they have lost games like against Stanford, she didn't have that help. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how that one pans out.
And now we'll all see BYU completely ruin them the first weekend or Stony Brook. It's just fait accompli. But something bad's going to happen to our bracket. We've been too much agreement, too much excitement about a lot of these games. Okay, I have NC State coming out of this region. NC State, Texas A&M in my Elite 8. I have Indiana and Rutgers filling out the Sweet 16 on this bracket. Indiana, NC State, I flirted with putting Indiana in the Elite 8 because I think they match up really well with NC State. I just think, and I've seen, when you see a ceiling like NC State has showed, I just can't go against that. And when I'm picking that bracket, I'm kind of going more on ceiling. And in fairness, Texas A&M also has that ceiling. So we know Calvin's pick is Arizona coming out of this region, right?
That is correct.
Okay, Christy, who you got? So now we finally have disagreement here.
That's going to be a disagreement. There's another disagreement on the way from me.
Okay.
I'm going to go with NC State. I just think that they have just played very consistently on the effort side of things. But I also think that, when you're talking about Hunane, I don't think she's getting the respect that she has needed. And I think you're talking about a chip on the shoulder. I think that she's going to be the one to kind of row that boat, if you will, for NC State and lead them where they want to go. And, I mean, it's going to be a tough bracket right here, a tough region for sure. I'm just looking at what that looks like down the road for them. But I just think that they're battle-tested for being in the ACC. I think that that West has gotten them prepared for this moment, and I think they're going to show and prove.
So we're in agreement. Calvin's on the outside, which is good. We need a bracket. We need like a balance here. Let's talk about the Final Four. So we're how many? Oh wow, we are really close to the Final Four. It's March 17th. It's gonna be happening on April 2nd. Crazy stuff. But we got on one side we all have Stanford versus Maryland. In a game that I can't express how excited to you I would be if this happens, especially like right after if we got South Carolina, Maryland, and then Stanford, Maryland, like that's a dream scenario for any basketball fan. And on the other side, Christy and I have Baylor, NC State, Calvin has Baylor, Arizona. Let's start with Stanford, Maryland. Calvin, give me a key. If this game happens, give me a key to it and who you're picking.
I mean, the key, I think, is going to be Maryland, how they slow down Haley Jones. We talked about Maryland on the defensive end, maybe being better than people think, especially with Angel Reese back. But I'm still not sure if they really have an answer for Haley Jones in transition. No one has an answer for Maryland in transition either. But the way that Haley Jones at her size can run the floor and create offense, in full court and in the half court too. That's going to be the key to me. I'm picking Stanford in this game. I already talked about it. It's incredible what they've done without being able to play in their own court for most of the year. Obviously, Tara Vanderveer, broke the wins record early in the year. They have a little bit of a storybook vibe going for them. I'm putting Stanford in.
Okay. Boos are ringing out from
Sorry,
from Northern Virginia.
Did you hear that? Oh, I thought it was just.
I had to disagree on something else too.
Let me get out of Mercado. We're not in the Mercado region. I'm gonna take myself out of this. Yeah, Boos are ringing out from Northern Virginia as Christy.
Yeah, Christy's there.
I can tell you. She disagrees, but Chris, tell me why you disagree. Why you think Maryland can take Stanford? And just for a second, the coaching matchup here, incredible.
Supreme.
I mean,
Chef's kiss.
This is amazing. Tara Vanderveer, Brenda Freeze. So Christy, tell me why you disagree. Because I agree. I have Maryland moving on, but I'm not important. Christy, tell me why you disagree.
I just think they have too many weapons. I just think that, and it's on a consistent basis with Maryland, with the 6 players who average a double-figure scoring, and the way that they have been able to play defense. And yes, Stanford is a staunch defensive juggernaut in terms of what they do on that side of the floor. So it will be a challenge. And Maryland has been challenged by tough defensive teams like Rutgers, like Indiana, in the Big Ten. And they've been able to come out on top. So when you have been battle tested, as I already said about some other teams, when you have been challenged by top 25 teams in your conference, and you've come out on top there, almost unscathed with just one loss, I feel that Maryland is mentally ready. And when you put the cherry on top with Angel Reese, providing that length on the interior, and I know that she hasn't had a lot of continuity and chemistry development with her team, especially on the defensive end, but she is successful on that side of the floor more times than she's not. And when she's not, it's like she's getting it. She's just a snap late sometimes on some rotations, but everything else is in sync for Maryland. And I just think that, with Ashley Owusu leading the way, and with Diamond Miller playing the best basketball that I have seen her play in her short 2-year career at Maryland, I think that she is going to be an X factor for Maryland's success. Can she do what she did in the Big Ten tournament, which was become, the most valuable player in the tournament? And I think she split that with Owusu. I think I saw that after the tournament was over. But anyway, I just think that they have so many different players who could hurt you in so many different ways. They spread the floor. I mean, if Mimi Collins, who came into the tournament shooting or making only 10 threes and then banged down like 3 or 4 threes in the championship game, I was like, wow, they have another player who can stretch the floor shooting 75% in the first half from 3, like 3 for 4 from 3. I'm like, wow, okay, Mimi Collins, then go off. But you just don't know the full impact that this Maryland team can have on you, and they just come at you wave after wave of offensive firepower, and they share the basketball. And I think it's not just one player trying to get theirs. It's, everybody making the extra pass to the extra pass. And that's the beauty of their game. And I just think they just have so many holes in the boat for Stanford to try to put a hand over that they're going to have a problem with it. So Stanford is tough, though. I mean, no slouch. I love Tara Vanderveer. I spoke with her, coming into this season before they were in the hotel for weeks at a time because of the COVID in their county, and they couldn't play at home. But I just know that, she is in full agreement with playing team basketball. So that's going to be the challenge in that game. And I think Maryland's going to come out on top. I think it's going to be extremely close. It's not going to be some blowout game where Maryland's going to score over 100 points again because of Stanford's defense. I think it's going to be, Stanford's defense is going to give them some trouble. But I think that, they're going to find their way through it, and I think they'll still have 5 or 6 players in double-figure scoring in that game, and I think they obviously have to keep their turnovers down in that contest, but they've done a good job with that this season as well. So I think Maryland on top by a smidge in that contest, just because of their weapons.
I have a really hot take.
I'd say
Katie Benson is going to hit a game winner. I don't know if it's like going to be a buzzer beater.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily sure.
Mark it down. Hey,
Katie
can we
Benson's gonna hit a game winner.
save that clip? Can we save that clip?
I'll only send it out April 2nd if it comes true.
We gotta run that back. She's a killer.
You're gonna have to choose, right? Because it's gonna be. I'm just like imagining here. Like, it's gonna be Ashley Owusu getting for Lane or Diamond Miller. Maybe it's a fast break situation. But like the person that is gonna be somewhat open is gonna be Katie Benson. I'm guessing it's not gonna be the corner. I'm gonna say Katie Benson from like right at the break, 3-corner to win the game. Not sure it's gonna be a buzzer beater, but I just have this visual in my head.
A Christy Tolliver-esque moment for Maryland again, like 06, like when she hit that
Yeah, I couldn't imagine 2 more different players though than Christy Tolliver and Katie Benson.
But here though, is the same. Like the killer mentality and shot making ability. Like the same.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's true. They both have that little. Katie's a little tough. Let's put to the other side. So we have Maryland. Calvin wrongly has Stanford. Let's move over to the other side. So we got Baylor, NC State, Baylor, Arizona. So for me, I have NC State moving on to the national title game. I love, the points you brought up about Baylor, Calvin, I thought were very salient. Great court, if there's a front court that can stand up to Tremaine, Jones, and all the great team that NC State has, I think it is Baylor. But I don't know. I just think there's a little bit of a team of destiny. I don't want to say that because they're a 1 seed, so it's not like they're Cinderella or something. But they kind of have that team of destiny feel, like they've had those opportunities to prove themselves. They've proved themselves in an unfamiliar environment. They've showed that they can come together in those tough moments and win a game. And to me, and Baylor has all the shots to Baylor. Obviously, they're the defending national champions. But I don't know. I just have a feeling, and this is not going to be backed up by stats or anything, that NC State over Baylor. But I'm going to turn it over to Christy first, just because I know you have to talk about Arizona. But Christy, do you have NC State or Baylor?
This is tough for me. I think I have Baylor in that one, and I just think they, like Maryland. I think they just have some weaponry there that's going to be tough for NC State to match up with. And I think the way that they are built in terms of having that NCAA tournament experience from the year before last, I think that's going to carry them over the hump.
Okay.
Is he frozen? Did he freeze? Come on back to us, Gabe. You good, buddy?
Yeah, okay.
Hey, he's back. Hey. Was my comment that short that it surprised you that my comment was that short?
Me?
Oh, no.
Let me see if I could do. I was like wondering, like, is everyone else like just hearing everything, and I'm the one who's apparently yes. Let me quit out this stuff. Calvin.
Yeah, you definitely just said my name. I have no idea what to say.
Just talk.
Yeah, all right. I'm assuming you asked me about my matchup. So I'm gonna go with Baylor. I think. Arizona. Pretty. I don't know if you call it Cinderella. It's Final Four or Cinderella. I think the run's gonna end in the Final Four. One thing that bigger and tougher than the 6 foot, flat as well. But Baylor just comes at you with size on size. They're one of those teams, and I just think the length is going to be too much for Arizona in this matchup, both in the backcourt and in the front court. I think the rebounding is going to be a huge factor. Baylor relentless on the offensive glass and second opportunity. I think that I don't think Arizona's going to be able to slow them down, on that in that regard. So I'm going with Baylor to.
Okay, I think I'm back.
You're back.
I had to ask my fiance to get off the Wi-Fi because obviously what we're doing is more important than her job. But regardless, let's talk about the national title game. We have I think all right. I'll go first because now we all have 3 different matchups. This is fantastic, guys. This means at least one of us will be right, maybe until FGCU makes it all the way to FGCU into the title game. All right, but I have Maryland, NC State, and I'm going with Maryland because I made this very clear. I think they're the best team in the country, I think the difference here, and we talked about at the beginning, is going to be Angel Reese. Angel Reese coming back gives me a lot more confidence that they can stand up to someone like, even Aaliyah Boston, which they would play in the Elite Eight, I didn't mention it, but Cameron Brink. Angel Reese is going to be a great matchup in the Final Four. I think another great matchup is going to be Kunae Reese. The issues I could see here for Maryland are Kunae putting Reese in foul trouble and then just dominating at the rim. And we've seen her do this against a bunch of teams. We've seen her do this against South Carolina, against Louisville, against all of the ACC. Like, she can just kind of take over a game and then you're out of it. So I think it's going to be important for Maryland's front court to stay out of foul trouble, to stay active on offense, and try to you got to do something, right? You got to get her tired. You got to get her moving around. I think they can do that. I think they can space out. I just feel that Maryland has just that perfect mixture. Like I said at the beginning, I think they just have that perfect mixture of star scorer, a person who can drive, three-point shooting, experience, understanding the moment, understanding what it's going to take to win the title, more so than NC State or even Baylor, who's defending national champion. Like, I just think that they have just that perfect mixture of a team. I think Maryland this year is going to take the title, and I think they could have. What title would this be for Brendan Freese?
It would be the second. It would be the second one, but it would be, if they made it to the Final Four, I believe it would be her 3rd trip, maybe the 4th. Wait, 2006, and then they went with Alyssa Thomas's group, and then this would be the 3rd, I believe. I could be wrong.
Hey, Christy, when was the other time Maryland made it to the Final Four?
Oh, back in the day when I was wearing this sweaty thing.
When they put you in Texas's home stadium despite being the 1 seed. We talked about that.
Yeah, but who knew? We didn't even know we were 1 seed, but I digress. We just knew where the game was and what time we needed to be there, wearing stuff, uniform, put it on, shoes, let's go, we're gonna go play.
All right, so you got Maryland, Baylor in the title game. I'm guessing we have the same national champion here. Who you got, Christy?
I'm going with Maryland. I think it would be a really great ride for the Terps to see them get that championship. And also, on another level, we're talking about layers to things. With Brenda Freese's father not doing so well, I think there's an extra added incentive for the players, and of course for Brenda and the staff. But I just think that would be such you're talking about storybook situations for teams. I think that you saw that at the end of the Big Ten tournament where Brenda Freese was overcome with emotion, as she should have been, and it was just like the total 180 of emotion in that moment, and it kind of all hit her at once. So I think just for that alone, you want to see that happen for Maryland, and it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be a cakewalk. It's not going to be blowouts. I think it's going to be overtimes. I think it's going to be gritty. I think it's going to be a rock fight at times during games when they're playing. But I think they're at a different place when they're focused on things that are bigger than basketball right now.
All right, so we both have Maryland winning the title. We also both live in Northern Virginia, so now Christy's bias just by her mere presence, considering that her jersey hangs in the rafters at Maryland. My jersey does not, but I don't know. I really have enjoyed watching this team, and I think they got a little bit of that team of destiny. I was talking about that State, but Calvin, I was kind of in and out, but I don't think you have either of these teams in your title game. So what's your title game?
I'm going Stanford versus Baylor in my title game. I'm gonna go Stanford.
All right.
I've already used a lot of praises on them. I think I've talked about Baylor's front court, but I'm actually really excited if this match happens to see. In the backcourt, Keanu Williams, Carrington, is a great matchup. Ultimately, I think Stanford's a much better defensive team than Arizona. And they're going to be able to compete with Baylor on the glass. I'm going to go with a little bit more of a hot take than maybe the Katie Benson shot. I'm going to go with that we're going to have a trampoline.
Oh, wow.
And it's not going to be a game-winning dunk. It's going to happen at, who knows, but it's going to happen in a national championship game with Stanford.
Do you have it as a close game or as a blowout?
Definitely a close game.
Okay. Yeah. Wait. You always have to put in your tiebreaker, pick the score. So my score for Maryland NC State would be 94-89. High scoring game. Do you have one, Calvin, for your game?
I think it's going to be a little bit lower score. I mean, with me not having Maryland in my national championship game, it's definitely going to be lower scoring than either of yours. I'm going to go with 65.
Wow.
Christy, what would your final score be?
I would say maybe not in the 90s because Maryland leads the country in scoring, and then Iowa, the Big Ten, is second, so I put that out there too. I think Maryland would probably score, let's just go with 79, 75 final.
All right.
That's fair.
Well, that's our bracket, and we'll see how wrong we are within the first couple days. That's the problem. It's like you have to pick your whole bracket, and then it's the first day. It's just completely torn. And we'll see. Well, hopefully we get some of these right, and hopefully we provided you with some good insight. Calvin bringing the stats, Christy bringing the knowledge, Gabe bringing the core internet. But we hope you guys enjoyed our live stream. You can catch us on the if you listen to the podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed it too. As always, follow Her Hoops at Her Hoops Stats on Twitter. Subscribe to our newsletter, herhoopstats.substack.com, and make sure you enter our tournament challenge because it's going to be a lot of fun to see who's right, who's wrong, and who's got the craziest picks. Because I think FGCU in the Sweet 16, like I have, it might be up there. And anyways, just enjoy the basketball. This is the best time of year. Have some fun. Because we didn't get this last year, now we're getting it. Hopefully it can be done safe and everyone stays safe in San Antonio. But we're getting the tournament, baby. So hope you guys have a great evening and a great weekend watching hoops. We will catch up to you very soon on the Her Hoop Stats family of networks. Sure.